Hello there and welcome to a new video. In this one I want to talk about one feature of Godot that in the most recent versions it was changed, okay? And I didn't see that many tutorials covering this topic, and also a lot of previous courses and tutorials basically were a little bit outdated, because whenever you were going to add a node to a group, well, this was the usual tab that we have had for a super long time, but now we have this new tab with scene groups, global groups. The way of adding and assigning them and deleting them from a node is also different. So indeed, I want to cover this in a full video, because now instead of just having like one tab here of groups and manually typing the group that we want to add, we now have this plus icon that has a different interface for us to type in the groups, and then in order to assign these groups to any kind of node, we have now checkboxes. So I'm currently in the latest stable version of Godot 4.3, and indeed if we go to node, and well, I will create here a brand new node, we see this scene groups and global groups. So let's actually do a practical example. I will have a 2D scene, basically this will be my main scene, and then I will have a player. So I will add, for example, an area 2D that I will call player. So I've just set up this quite simply, and I will save it as well. Let me also quite quickly create a brand new folder. And what I also want to do is to duplicate this player scene, and I will call it enemy. Okay, so it will be the exact same scene, but the icon I will just make it like red or something like that, just to differentiate it from the player. Okay, so maybe something like this, it should be enough. And then in my main scene I will instantiate both the player and the enemy. I will position now the enemy right over here and the player right over here. And I've also added super simple 8 ways movement code into the player. And now let's say that I want to detect the collision with the enemy. So what you would usually do is to go inside of the player. I want to detect the collision with another area, so let's add area entered. Out here you would actually have like a lot of ways of doing this. You could say, okay, if area dot name is equal to enemy, then you would detect this, but well, this is not the best practice, since then if you for some reason change the name of the object itself, then this code wouldn't work correctly. So that's why groups, at least for this case, are quite useful. Of course they still have lots of other usages, but well, this is like the most basic, the most used case. So we'll go to the enemy, and when I go to groups, well, now I can't type in, I can filter the groups if you have a ton, but I can press here on the add button, and I have like a lot of things here. First of all, I provide the group name, and of course this can't be empty. So in this case, let's add this to the enemy group, and then you have this option over here to make it global or not. I will get to this in just 1 second. And if it is global, you're going to be able to actually write a description. If not, you won't. So we'll just create a group that it is not global, and if the group is not global, it will be a scene group. So scene groups are groups that only exist in the scene in which they were created. So if I wanted to go into the player scene and add the enemy group, it doesn't exist over there. And also note how over here, in order to add or delete the node from the group, I just enable the checkbox or I enable or disable the checkbox. So it is much easier than just having to type it in manually, because that could lead to some misspellings, and then those misspellings would make the code work unexpectedly. And on the other hand, if you added a global group, for example, let's call this group node, and I will make it global. I will add a description just as an example. This is the node group, and there we've got it. And then this group is also accessible in literally any other scene. And for example, here in the main scene, as we are instantiating the enemy, we do see here the enemy scene group, but it is like locked. we can see it because we have a child that does have that sync group, but well, we can't, at least it says here that it is locked, that basically it can't be edited over here. You can still assign it, as you can see, but well, you can't like modify the name or anything like that, whereas here you can, I believe, if you here rename it, and here you shouldn't. Exactly. You can still convert sync groups to global groups and the other way about, and of course rename them and delete them or whatever you want. So yes, this makes everything much easier, because let's say, okay, I also want to make this player node inside of the node group, so I just enable here and it is much quicker. And also you make sure that all nodes are inside of the group as they should. Not only that, but also, so what you will do here is if area.is in group, and here you provide the group in a string. So instead of having to just to copy manually here the group name, which would work of course, you can basically use here the copy button. So I will press it, and there I've got it. So I will always make sure that my group name is copied correctly. So if area is in group enemy, let's just do an area.q3. So now when I collide with the enemy, there we've got it. Okay, the area was deleted correctly. And let's say that now I want to have a third enemy. So for example, I will add here a brand new enemy with an area and also a collision and a sprite 2D. Okay, and I will quickly go ahead and load in the icon. I will create a circle shape because it is easier to scale. Maybe something like this. And I will save it in the scenes folder, and I will call this one enemy 2, for example. Okay. So now when I go to the node groups, I will see my node group. So actually this enemy group, we should make it global. Okay, and I will delete this node group. And let me delete it over there. And now we're here in global groups. I can just assign this enemy group. Okay, and this new enemy, if I instantiate it, it will also detect the collision correctly. Okay, so there we've got it. Of course, this has much more usages, but well, this is the most basic, and I just wanted to explain these differences. And finally, if you go to the project settings, you will find globals and groups. So here I have, for example, my global enemy group, and you can add here a description if you wanted, or whatever. I believe that you can also here type in a brand new, for example, we can add again the node group. Okay, and there we would have added it, and here it appears. So well, just a better way of organizing the groups, but well, I believe that most of the stuff is still working the exact same way. It is just better organized. If you liked this video, make sure that you're subscribed. Bye bye.